Hey, this is Igor Ilyinsky with Tokenomics.com. That's TKNMCS.com. And we're doing an interview for the Israel Crypto Conference 2022. I've got Rick Schonberg with me, who's he's on the Coinbase institutional product team. Say hello, Rick.
Hello, everyone.
So, Rick, you're on the institutional product team in Coinbase, which means that you work with generally whom?
So Coinbase has obviously the retail arm that folks know well. I work on a part of Coinbase with an offering called Coinbase Prime, which is an offering for institutional clients. So large traditional asset managers, traditional macro hedge funds, crypto forward hedge funds, VCs, family offices.
Cool. So with all of these institutional investors coming into the field, what's the learning curve like for them? I mean, I would imagine that crypto is fairly different than the typical investments they may be used to making.
Yeah, so I guess they're kind of two groups. One for the crypto native hedge funds, they're out there. Learning curve, they're ahead of us. They're great. They use us as and when we sort of meet their requirements. But for everyone else, there's a steep learning curve from how things differ from traditional finance to basically act as that bridge, and that's really what we do. From moving assets inside a trading wallet to a vault wallet, that whole concept around security. I mean, the idea of sort of digital assets and effectively digital bearer bonds. The layers of security we have are not typical for what clients find in TradFi. You build a trading system at a bank that a client trades on, you have standard settlement instructions. For us, in our case, you actually need to transfer coin and fiat, and those movements to wallets, we have various layers of consensus and security that are built in, and there's just not what people are used to. So sort of educating them along that path and helping them sort of gain that operational efficiency, which they can then bury so they can be active traders and successful traders.
So what does the custody generally look like? Are you custodying their tokens, or do they have like multiple signatories? How does that typically work?
So we do have a qualified custodian. So we have a New York State registered trust that acts as our QC. So not everyone stores their coins there. Not every asset is eligible to be put into the trust, and that's up to the the NYDFS that makes that determination. But we have that as one option. For many clients, do require that assets be held in a QC, and for them, we have that service. For other clients, we have storage solutions for them. We have a hot trading wallet that they can trade out of, and then we have storage. So for storage, for moving things in and out, for setting up new whitelisted accounts, we have multiple levels of consensus and security to sort of help clients manage. And clients, when they set up their accounts with us, they set the security level for each different activity and behavior. So in many ways, we're sort of a blank canvas for clients, and we help educate them as to what best practices are. But then it's up to them and to their own security policies for how they implement, whether it's multiple signatories or whatever sort of protocols that they wish to follow.
Cool, that's great. So what does the the landscape look like in terms of interoperability with these sorts of institutions? Are you finding that their technology is up to date and current, and they're using APIs and very sort of modern paradigms, or are they a little bit behind the times and often require more complex integration?
Some clients, say more on the macro hedge fund side, tend to have newer technologies, be more literate or more native in protocols like Fix. And for them, life is very straightforward. What's interesting is that traditional finance firms tend to use Fix, whereas traditional crypto firms use REST and WebSocket. So there is a little bit of that there. But then as you get into the sort of older school traditional finance firms, they're actually on very old technology. They'll want MQ series rather than Fix. And our technologists are like, well, MQ was old before I was born. Like, I don't want to do this. And so there's definitely a little bit of tension here on the technology side as we build those bridges. But once bridges are built, they're done, and we move forward. So on that level, there definitely is some growing pains. And you think about it, you really are bridging sort of a really newly minted world that is digital assets. A lot of startups, a lot of new technology, a lot of cutting edge technology has put these things in place. And then you have firms for lots of good reasons, for, they have regulations and all sorts of things that make them intentionally move kind of slowly. And sort of how you get from point A to point B is with difficulty. And we're there to sort of, help grease that difficulty and make it be a little less difficult.
Sure. So over the past, let's say, year or so, it seems like adoption has kind of grown on the institutional side in terms of cryptocurrency. How does that play into things, do you think? I mean, certainly bigger dollars are moving around back and forth. Do these institutions tend to, come in and hodl, or are they sort of testing the waters, putting in small allocations of portfolios and putting them in for a specific amount of time, let's say, and saying, okay, well, let's pull this out after 6 months or 9 months and see how we did?
Well, it's sort of almost too early to say what the long-term strategies will be, but we definitely have some people coming in with more of an active trading style. Um, think macro hedge funds, more of a quant trading style to their approach. And we definitely have some people that are coming in to build sort of a passive index style portfolio of, 3 to 25 different assets that they will put on as a structure and look to maintain across clients and accounts, more as a passive index. So we definitely have a range of both clients, which is what you need really to sort of to make a market. So people with different sort of alpha time horizons. So we have a bit of both, really.
Okay. And are there specific tools or guidance that you recommend for them? Are there specific training that uh, try and recommend that they do, or do you kind of do what I do, which is say, go look on YouTube, and there are plenty of instructionals.
Yeah. So our trading platform looks very familiar. So if any of them have been trading crypto in their personal accounts, our accounts will look quite similar. And the basic constructs are there. And traders are traders. They can sit in front of a trading system and more or less get it. If they need a 20, 30, 40-minute demo, that'll be the most of it. The trickiest thing about crypto is sort of the difficulty with shorting. We do offer trade finance, and we do locates and such. But generically speaking, we have sort of buying power. We have the ability to place orders. The one thing which is interesting, or perhaps a little bit unique to crypto, is that given the liquidity still in the market, if Bitcoin trades a few yards a day, recently it's been trading a lot more than that, but if that's its typical trading size, if someone wants to put on a position, you can't just click a button like in foreign exchange and buy 100 million euros or several hundred million euros. That size trade, you're wise to put on over the course of several hours. So we have algorithms that we've, I can't say perfected, but that we continue to perfect, that have seen tens of billions of dollars in assets flow through them, and clients use those algorithms to execute those trades over sort of a stretched out time horizon. So algo trading is something that's been prevalent in traditional markets. It's sort of crept a little bit to the forefront in crypto simply because you have institutional clients trading size relative to liquidity in crypto. So how do you bridge that? There's only one way, and that's via algorithms. So there's been a lot of that. So there's a little bit of a learning curve on the algo side. But again, traders are traders. They're smart this way. They pick that stuff up pretty darn quickly.
Okay. And in terms of platforms, layer one technologies, obviously Bitcoin is the big behemoth in the space and generally drives the market. But are you finding that your clients are receptive to alternative, altcoins or other layer ones like Ethereum? Certainly DeFi is something that they're probably dabbling in. How deep do you think that they go?
That's a very good question. People definitely sort of go out beyond Bitcoin and Ethereum. Solana, sort of the list keeps going. Some of them will dabble in some of the alts and some of the tail assets. Again, very slow trades and small increments that you wouldn't think of as institutional. But for something that turns over, you know, 5, 10, $50 million a day, you want to put on a meaningful position, you trade it in really small increments. In fact, it's in your benefit to trade it in small increments, so you don't get the whale alerts or whatever else going on. So, so we definitely have to have that sort of typical was what you'd expect. We have a bit of concentration in the larger caps, just because that's where they can trade, and that's sort of the comfort zone. Our expectation is that they will bleed out. We as a firm did acquire a DEX aggregator that sort of came under our remit. That says it's there that we're sort of rebuilding it and sort of building it into our DNA, such that if clients want to grab an alt asset, or maybe something's trading at a better price, there's an axe on the DEX, rather than trading it on a SEX, we will go out and source it on a DEX. So those are the types of things that we're working towards as well. But it's funny, when we talk to clients about DeFi, some of them are like, yeah, it's a good question. We're not going to tell you. And those are the types of really crypto native clients that sort of play their cards very close to their chest. And the other clients are like, no, tell us, like, you know, what should we be thinking about?
Where should we be?
Yeah, and that's,
that makes
we're not
sense.
in,
So the follow up to that is moving forward into the future, and specifically with consideration for nation states. You know, do you see that the landscape is just kind of getting more broad, or do you feel like at some point here we're going to start consolidating, and you know, we don't necessarily need 100 different layer one technologies?
oh, well, it's a free market.
It's a crystal ball question, right?
Yeah, we were joking the other night about the market has voted. The market has yet to vote, but the market will vote, and obviously, I think that there will be some consolidation. And whether we can name one of the winners today, or whether it's some yet to be named protocol, I honestly don't know. You know, we can go back to analogs from prior days and technology battles between VHS and Betamax. You know, if you were a techno nerd, you would have known Betamax was going to be the winner, but for some reason it wasn't. So I'm not so insightful to be able to pick a winner here, but I feel that, you know, the protocols are a means to an end. They're not an end unto themselves. I think right now they're sort of, because of all the trading and all the speculation, I think people lose sight of, like, well, what's the purpose in the long run? What are people going to be doing with these networks? What problem are they solving? So I think there's going to be some pivot, especially after, you know, tumultuous times like the past few weeks, that will get people sort of more in that mindset of like, okay, what are these digital assets here for? What purpose do they serve? What problem do they solve? And as those protocols take greater hold, I think we'll get more clarity around that question as to sort of who the winners will be years out from now.
So you don't necessarily think that we've already seen all of the you know, use cases and primitives that blockchain provides for us?
That'd be kind of boring if we have. I don't even know them all, but I know there are a lot of VCs out there staking very interesting sounding companies. And so for their sake, I hope that there's some more interesting things to come out of the woodworks. But I think that each new turn in the market, like we've just had, sort of reveals needs. I mean, like, obviously the algorithm of stable coins just took it on the chin. You know, obviously that's an experiment. People need to go back to the lab and rework that. So I think that each adventure like that in the market, there's a learning which needs to get reapplied. And I think the next version of such transmitters of value, will have sort of learnings based upon this. So I think the market will keep on iterating.
Yeah. Well, in terms of the various sort of landscapes that are out there and the ecosystems, what I'm potentially hoping happens is that there's somewhat of convergence, at least in standardizing the tooling that exists. So things like smart wallets. You know, it would be great if many of them were multi-chain. It would be great if many of them provided you with the ability to do more than just move your money, but also potentially govern, take part in voting and things like that. Are these things that Coinbase is looking at? Is it looking at it more broadly, do you think, than just as a means of currency, but also as a means of you know, just life and engaging in the ecosystem.
Yeah. The one thing Coinbase does sort of very actively is we are very strong proponents of sort of aiding the ecosystem. So our adventures in Web3 and with our wallet, we're looking far beyond just helping ourselves. We're looking at helping the ecosystem. We partner with competitors. We have installed one of our fiat rails, Coinbase Pay, in a competing wallet. So we're looking to help out there, and it's important for us that sort of as these primitives roll out, some of us that are sort of too deep in it, we sort of lose focus and lose sight. We love the technology. We appreciate the technology. Most people don't. If you ask someone about TCP/IP, they're gonna be like, most people's eyes will roll in the back of their head. They just use their computer. They use the internet. And our wallets and our tools need to become just like that. It's just a browser. So distributed identity, Web3 wallets, all these things that a lot of people are investing in. And I know in a lot of ways the industry is, effectively collaborating on the protocols. As that happens, I think that some of these complexities will sort of fall to the background. Everything will implicitly be multi-chain. Everything will offer governance. And just like you can surf the web today on Google or Safari or Mozilla or Opera or Brave, there are all these options. They all kind of do the same thing. Visa, MasterCard, Amex, I don't know what the difference is. I'm agnostic to. I don't know the differences, the underlying protocol details. That's where we need to get for usage to really get to where we think it needs to be.
That's great. So final question, just to kind of wrap things up, is with the KYC angle, the AML, where do you think, or how do you think these things are actually roadblocks to adoption, speed bumps to adoption, and will we get to a point where that's no longer so much of an issue or a hurdle?
Are they speed bumps? Yes. AML, KYC takes time, energy, resources. There's a recent venture that actually Coinbase helped spearhead, but it's an industry-wide venture called Trust, where we're working on some of these AML items. And so just given the regulatory interest in the world, AML, KYC is not going to go away. And so it is going to be a speed bump, but it's a necessary speed bump. And I think as we resolve it and perfect it, it'll become a little less of a nuisance. But it's like you go to another country, you have to go through customs. I've never had a pleasant customs experience. It just is. It's what you expect when you travel. So it's the same thing when you travel with assets. There will be some element of an onboarding process, a KYC ML process, and you just do it. Go to a doctor's office, you fill out the same forms you filled out a million other times. Yes, it'd be nice, and I'm sure there'll be solutions, but there'll always be a little bit of that. So as much as we want it all to go away, I think that there's a net positive out of it, and the regulators aren't going away. And it's what they require as sort of table stakes. So I think we should just do it and do it well, and maybe just do it as an industry.
Yep, that makes perfect sense. Well, thank you very much for the sage wisdom there. Rick Schonberg, toda rabah.
Thank you so much. Shalom. Bye-bye.